Hi there, this is Jacob Nash, and in this video we'll be talking about strategies for integration. So I've already been mentioning this in a lot of the videos, like look at what we've learned before and why would you need to do this? But this video is really going to just, you know, put this all in one. Why would you use a certain technique over the other? Because you will have to know. So we know six different ways to integrate. We know our normal antiderivative rules. And what do I mean by that? I've said that in a lot of videos. I'm just talking about things that you learned in Calc 1 where, oh, reverse power rule, oh, arcsine, arctangent, something like that. That's just like a rule, a common rule that you would just know. Or like how you can make it an ln if it's 1 over x. Stuff like that. Um, and how would you know that that's what you need to do? Well, sometimes you can do a different one that's harder. So that's the key thing about this video. Always, if there are sometimes more than one technique that you can use, but you're always going to want to do the one that's the easiest. Generally, this is easy, U sub is easy. So if you can do that, then you definitely want to. So if you see something that you can do using normal rules, then do it. Be careful for your arcs. What I mean by that is if sometimes it's not easy to catch that something, you might have to rearrange stuff or factor stuff out or distribute stuff to make it look like something that you know. So if something looks very close to 1 over 1 plus x squared, try to see if you can make it look like that so you can do the arctangent. So U substitution, we've already talked about this like in one of the very first videos of Calc 2, that you know that you need to do that if you see something that's inside of something, that if you do the derivative of it, it will cancel out the other thing. So something that's in a square root, something that's in an exponent, parentheses, something like that. Once again, U sub is, if you can do that, you definitely want to, versus these other four, which are a lot more tedious. Review of integration by parts. Integration by parts is always something like in this example, it's like two things multiplied by each other, and you can't do U sub. That's like almost as simple as it is. That's like how you know. And there's no square root or trig. That's how you know you need to do integration by parts. Um, and also you might think, okay, if you do the derivative of one of them, it will end up simpler. So if you do derivative of x cubed, it would end up x squared, right? So you would have to do integration by parts a couple times. Three times actually, to be exact. All right, partial fractions we just talked about in the last video. That's if it's fraction. I mean, that's if it's a rational function and there's no square root. Trig identities, and if you can't do U sub. Trig identities, you'll want to use those if you see two trig functions multiplied or something like that, possibly divided, but they look like a, they could be involved in a trig identity together. So these don't, couldn't they be in, they're in the sine squared plus cosine squared identity. So that's what I would think if I saw that one. Trig substitution is always where the problem never, for trig sub, never has trig in it to start, or rarely will. It will instead just have a square root with two terms in it, like this. So that's really the basics of how you know which one to use. And how do you get better at figuring out which one to use? Just by practice. That's all you can do. Um, so try to do as many problems as you can, and that will help. Also, there's going to be a little bit of a special on this channel where we're going to be doing a game where we figure out which one to use. And it's an old game from 2018. I mean, maybe that's not really old, but I'm gonna play that game for a couple minutes and upload a video of that so you can see an example of how you could practice. So stay tuned for that. Thanks.